Hi, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Dar, and I am a SAFe program consultant, solutions architect, and a very pretentiously titled Atlassian certified expert here at Expium. And today we are going to be talking about portfolio management options in the Atlassian platform. Specifically, we're going to be diving fairly, well, I guess medium deep into Jira Align and advanced roadmaps, but we're also going to talk about some other options as well for your portfolio management needs. Hopefully you're here in the right place. So specifically today, we're going to spend half of our time talking about Jira Align and half of our time talking about advanced roadmaps. I guess that's not entirely accurate because we're going to have time for questions at the end, and we're going to talk about a little bit of other stuff too. But that's the general agenda. And so why do we need portfolio management in our platform? You know this, but I think it helps to reiterate some of the things that we'll talk about here. So one, Jira started out as a team tool. And I think it's very important to understand that while you have your teams down in Jira, it's really important to get those layers on top, which is obviously what you're looking for if you're looking for portfolio management. And the Atlassian ecosystem has grown considerably in the last few years for supporting that additional layering of scale. And really, management visibility along with that. So specifically, the benefits of using the tools that we're going to talk about today are you'll be better aligning your work to the enterprise strategy. And no matter what configuration you go with, this will be the case. You'll be able to visualize capacity versus demand. You'll have clearer dependency management than you do in just regular Jira, basic Jira software, for example. You'll be more predictable and be able to prioritize the delivery of value that you're working on. You'll have better stakeholder and team visibility. We all know that visibility is very important. You'll have fewer fire drills, and you'll be able to better mitigate risks. So today, specifically, like I mentioned, we're going to talk about Jira Align and advanced roadmaps. Yeah. And then if you ever need a really in-depth comparison, you can basically just Google, advanced roadmaps versus Jira Align. There's a whole list on the Atlassian website that compares the two. But in general, and you'll know a lot about this by the end of this webinar, Jira Align is for large enterprises with established scaled agile solutions already, whereas advanced roadmaps is for growing enterprises. There are other tools in the ecosystem as well that can help you do portfolio management. And I think it's important to call out many of those right now. So one of those is Structure. And Structure provides kind of a hierarchy, just like advanced roadmaps does. It allows you to scale up things above just the team level. It is fairly flexible with regard to a traditional work breakdown structure. And if you get a second add-on structure, Gantt, you'll be able to do Gantt charting along with that breakdown structure. Big Picture is another alternative. I like to think of Big Picture as a Swiss Army knife, to use an American term. It is a lot of tools in one box. So for example, in addition to that sort of hierarchical breakdown that you get, and in addition to Gantt charting functionalities like Structure, they also have things like program boards for a scaled agile quarterly planning. They also have the ability to do individual capacity management. So if you really do have a need to go down to the individual level, this is one of the only tools that I know of that really does that particularly well within the Atlassian ecosystem. In addition, there is WBS Gantt chart for Jira. This is sort of a hybrid of the other two. It is more like Structure. This is for traditional waterfall project management methodologies, but applied to Jira. And again, there's a Gantt charting functionality. There's a capacity management functionality. Lastly, Microsoft. So there are connectors in the environment that will connect Jira to Microsoft Project. They're not perfect, in my opinion. You have to structure your projects in such a way that the connector is more supported. So I'm not a huge fan of them, but we have configured them for clients many times. And so that is another option. If your PMO is clinging to Microsoft Project, no problem. We can still keep your team in the tool that they prefer, like Jira, and then we can just roll that up into the Microsoft Project items. and then just the project managers are having the swivel chair instead of the teams. So that's the other options, but for the most part, we're going to be focusing on Jira Align and advanced roadmaps today. All right, so let's dive into Jira Align. We're going to do a live demo of both tools in a little bit, but I want to background set before we do that live demo. So Jira Align is positioned as a very, very large tool for enterprises that already have a scaled agile framework in place. It is the tool for your scaled agile framework. It is a large-scale tool, like I mentioned. It is aimed at enterprises. It will connect the CEO's vision all the way down to the team members' individual contributions. Like everything's actually linked up through the work items and also through objectives and key results all the way up. And it started life as a full application as a competitor to the Atlassian ecosystem. Atlassian acquired them. They used to be known as AgileCraft back in 2019. And as a result, Atlassian moved much higher within the ecosystem. So a vestigial item in Jira Align is this team layer functionality. As I understand it, that's probably going away. So I would not focus too much on the team functionality. And in a perfect case scenario, we'll talk about future ideas later. But eventually, this will all be one stack within the Atlassian ecosystem and not a separate product. Speaking of separate product, let's talk about that sort of configuration right now. So Jira Align is currently a separate item from Jira. And I like to think of it sitting on top of Jira, and it syncs bidirectionally. The connector has been improved a number of times, so it is getting a lot better. It is a somewhat complicated thing to set up, though. So Jira Align contains your strategic portfolio, your product management, your scale development. All of that syncs to and hierarchically links to the work that your teams are doing in Jira. The shared layer is the Jira Epic layer / the safe feature layer. That one syncs bidirectionally. The other stuff is do your work in Jira or do your work in Jira Align on separate work items. Basically, Jira Align is everything Jira Epic and above, and Jira is everything Jira Epic and below. Looking over on the left side, we start to see these layers of scale too that get applied in the tool. So Jira is the intended team tool. The program or the team of teams functions in Jira Align. The solution layer, which is optional if you need a capability layer, also functions in Jira Align. Then you get up to the portfolio layer, which is the budgeting area, and then the enterprise, long-term strategy. Another way to think about Jira Align is a series of hierarchies. This looks like a complex slide at first, but I really like this because it really shows them off in color in a separated way, which I really appreciate. So Jira Align talks specifically about having a people, work, and time axis, 3 different axes. So let's start with the people. We have the people in the tool, we have the enterprise strategy people, we have the portfolio and solution people. So again, this is around budgeting and large capabilities. We have the program teams in the tool, and then we have the team individual contributors also in the tool. The work breakdown makes sense if you think about the hierarchies of work that you have in your company. We start way at the top with strategy as sort of a work item. Then we break that down into themes. We break those down into safe epics, or what other companies would call initiatives. Those can optionally be broken down into capabilities. But again, that layer doesn't have to be there. And largely, we actually recommend not adding that layer. Then those epics get broken down into features, which are delivered by the programs. Those features get broken down into stories, which are delivered by the teams, and then optionally broken down into tasks / subtasks. And then there's also a time hierarchy too. So Jira Align manages the enterprise-wide delivery cadence that you need for Agile at scale. So we have our annual or multi-annual strategic snapshot, which is a wrapper for your long-term strategy, but long-term strategy changes. So we're changing our strategy from year to year or from decade to decade. I can't imagine a company strategy being longer than a decade right now, given the environment, but that's an aside point. Then the year gets broken down into quarterly increments, which are standard across the company. And then those get broken down into sprints, which are guided by anchors and releases. Lastly, what's not listed over here as far as the hierarchy, but is a really important aspect of Jira Align are these business vector, tracking functionality. And so there's the concept of a product that you can attach to your features, so you can get that product-focused orthogonal slice across what you're delivering. There's this OKR concept that connects at every layer of the work hierarchy, so we can tie all of our work items to our business objectives. There are value streams and processes that get rolled into these too, so basically workflows. And then we also deal with domains and budgets. And so we can slice across all those. We can attach budgeting information to our epics, especially if you're doing lean portfolio management. This is a great tool for that. All right, let's talk about some of the key features in Jira Align that are really important selling points. One of them is that Jira Align does a better job at dependency management than Jira. Jira does it simply through issue links. This issue blocks this issue, and those are not actually enforced in Jira. Jira Align treats dependencies as a conversation. It's a three-step workflow where the requesting team creates the dependency, sends it to the requested team. The requested team accepts that dependency and associates it with the work that's going to get done. When they accept it, they say, we're going to have this work done by a certain sprint. And then the work gets done, and then the work item, and then the dependency moves to done. And there are lots of views around these dependencies. So once you get those in the tool, you can start to see and track your cross-team and cross-program dependencies. And it should always be a part of continuous improvement that we are looking to reduce those dependencies. We don't want to solve those with a tool. We want to eliminate them through our organizational structure if possible. But tracking them in the tool is the first step to seeing that bottleneck. Another key feature is the program board. So that is, if you remember big room planning back before COVID, when we had the big wall chart with the yarn pieces of string connecting features and blockers and stuff like that. They have that digitally. They've removed the spaghetti strings, and I really appreciate that. I think a lot of people at first look at that and they go, ugh, I need my strings, but why do you need those strings? Just to show complexity? That's not as important as having everything sequenced properly. And the program board in Jira Align does a great job of showing you in color if everything is sequenced and ready to go before you start your program increment or your quarterly increment. So rather than getting bogged down in a series of strings and connections just to see, oh my gosh, it's really complex, you can see everything's green and ready to go. There is a road mapping function in Jira Align as well, so we can see all of our work laid out either according to PIs or according to a standard calendar. There are rooms where different teams can gather to see the work. So specifically, there's a strategy room where the enterprise strategy people can look and set the vision. And then that ties down to all the work items later. There's a program room where the program can get together and see their cross-team dependencies and see their runway and see the work in flight. Kind of like a dashboard with gauges, so you know where you are at any point in the PI. And then also really important to a lot of organizations is this objective and key result functionality. So we can create objectives, tie them to multiple work items, and also create key results and tie those to multiple objectives, and then do periodic check-ins to see how we're doing. So what's new and coming? Well, API support recently showed up for custom field editing, which means with a developer like a partner like Expium or in-house, we can now synchronize custom fields between Jira and Jira Align. This is huge and a long awaited for option. Estimation changes have been done. Conversions now happen automatically in the background, so you can view data for all of your estimation types. The Fibonacci scale was deprecated. It is now just an open text field. And there's some other minor changes that have come through too recently. And WSGIF is now called prioritization. In addition to that, in the future, there is an expected UI change that will bring Jira Align in closer to the Atlassian family. It'll look much more familiar. I believe it's in beta testing right now with a number of clients, and Just like all testing, they're finding some things to update, which is great before it gets released for general consumption. Also, the objectives tree is going to be getting an overhaul as well. All right, let's talk about how long it takes to implement Jira Align, because if you want the tool, you're going to have to you'll have to implement it. So the way that it works is there's a thing called a jumpstart. It takes about 3 months, and it's done with one program or art. You basically work with a partner, one of the Atlassian solution partners that is Agile at Scale certified. And that partner, like Exbeam, for example, or many other partners as well, that partner will help you do the planning, the discovery, the configuration, the training of the key roles, such as product owners, scrum masters, release train engineers, executives, portfolio membership, etc. And then we get you through your first PI planning in the tool as well, basically being there in the room with you, making sure that the tool is working for your planning. So that's done on a single program or Agile release train. And then that also comes with what I would call like a mini portfolio edition, because you really want to see it connected to at least some of your strategic themes. So we carve out a little piece of the portfolio layer as well. Once you have that pilot done, we then come back if you want and help you expand and get other programs in the tool. Again, it's much faster the second time around because you already have the structure in place, but that also comes with additional training and additional PI planning help. And then when you're ready to expand to lean portfolio management, there are other packages that partners can help you with as well for expanding up and really robustly using that portfolio layer. So all in all, though, the first program takes about 3 months. We have seen people try to shortcut this. Please do not try that. I know it sounds like everyone's saving time. The real challenge that a lot of people don't see right away in the tool is, while it looks shiny and wonderful, and it is, there is a lot of configuration that one needs to do of Jira to make it work, especially currently with the way the connector works. Many people wind up having to rearrange and restructure the way that their teams work in Jira to support Jira Align. And this can be a big organizational shift. We know a lot of people don't like having their cheese moved, so a lot of that change is baked into this. Also very important is to have an appropriate level of executive sponsorship throughout the process as well. It's very hard to make large moves like this if you're pulling socially laterally instead of moving from top down, because unfortunately, Agile only gets you up halfway in the organization. Scaled Agile at some point has to come from the top down. All right, so with all that being said, let's hop into the tool and actually play around with it and show off some of the items in a live demonstration. So let me get over here. Let me refresh just to make sure that I'm still logged in. All right, so here we are at the Jira Align landing page. The first thing we see down the left is our navigation bar. And so we've got the home button up here, much like most Atlassian products. We've got the user profile that contains different functions for me. I've got a search, which searches the different areas of Jira Align. And again, I cannot wait for the new UI. I think it's going to be very, very much more streamlined than what we see here. But we can favorite different areas of the tool. And then we start getting down into the different layers. So we have the enterprise layer with all of the different areas of the tool relating to the enterprise layer. We have the portfolio layer and all of the different areas relating to the portfolio layer. We have the optional solution layer. Again, most companies, unless you're building aircraft carriers or jumbo jets, you probably don't need that layer. We have the program layer. This has a lot of superstar spots in the tool that are very helpful. And then we have that team layer, which is probably going to be going away at some point. So we're going to ignore that today. There's a product function. I wouldn't call it a layer, but you can tag the features / Jira epics in Jira Align with a product. And then you can see things like the product backlog and the product work breakdown and progress and the roadmap and all that stuff related to that one product. Then we can build custom rooms for custom teams. There's a reporting section as well. And then way at the bottom, we've got the administration area. So that's the navigation. Up along the top, we have the context bar. And this is important because whenever you go to one of these areas in Jira Align, it's going to show you the work relative to the context bar up top. So we can choose the portfolio that we're working in, or we can choose the program that we're working in. So this is the this is sort of the people slash yeah, it's basically the people part of the organization. We then, well, people and work. We then get into the time vector, so we can choose which PI we're looking at. Because again, this is multiple portfolios, multiple programs, multiple PIs, and we need to narrow down what we're looking at to find the value. We can then add additional configurations. We can filter down on certain release vehicles slash fixed versions in Jira. We can filter down on product or certain pieces of the org structure. And then we can do things like advanced configurations. We can save that configuration and then come back to it again. All right, so let me hop into the enterprise layer for a moment and come into the enterprise strategy room. The first thing we have to do is choose what general strategic snapshot we're looking at, because strategy changes over time. And once we have that, we land in this strategy room. The first thing we see is the company vision, mission, and values up top. We see execution against outcomes. So we see our strategic goals, our portfolio objectives, our program objectives, and we see how things are getting accomplished relative to those objectives. We see the work progress for this particular snapshot. So how many themes have gotten completed, or how far are we in those? How many epics, how many features, how many stories? And then we have the strategy pyramid over here. And this is a really good bird's eye view of the layers within Jira Align. So we have all the different work and team layers vertically. And then on the left, I heard someone say this the other day and I love it. We have basically outcomes and output. So outcomes on the left, output on the right. So we have the work items on the right, themes, epics, features, and then we have the outcomes related to that: strategic goals, portfolio objectives, program objectives. And we can click into any of these, and well, within the tool we can zoom into those and find out the ones that matter. Then we have an OKR heat map. Obviously, we're doing terrible with some of these, and this isn't obviously a great data set. But this will tell you a roll-up of all of your OKRs for this particular strategic snapshot. And then you can see just from a dashboard view how we're doing. And then we have an OKR tree. Like I said, this is going to get some changes coming up in the future. So that's the strategy room. There's just a lot going on there. We also have the strategic backlog where we can land here and we can see all of our strategy items. So each of these mission, vision, values, yearly goals, these are actual items that we can come in and we can edit them and add the appropriate information, tie them to the appropriate items, etc. All right, so that's a very, very brief overview of enterprise strategy. Let's dive into portfolio now. So again, this is the budgeting layer. This is the large initiative layer, $1 million tags associated with multi-quarter initiatives. So I'm going to hop first into the portfolio backlog. And if I come to Kanban value stream view, I get a traditional Kanban view of the work that we're working on. So unassigned, funnel, reviewing, analyzing, portfolio backlog. If you know SAFe, you'll recognize these steps as the SAFe portfolio Kanban method. And then we can dive into each of these and we can see a whole lot of information about any given epic. You see all these tabs up here at the top. These are different modules of information we can associate with the epic. So here on the main page, we have what program is delivering for this epic, additional programs, who owns it, what theme it is a child under, what program increments it's going to get developed in, what the prioritization per program increment that is, what the initial estimates are for the effort per program layer. We have additional details down here, such as portfolio ask date, start date, target completion. We have filtering tags. Then we have all of the children, the acceptance criteria, the risks, the success criteria, dependencies, objectives, and links associated with that one epic. And that's page one. And then there's also progress delivery over here, which is quite nice. And then up top, we have a space for design hypothesis. We have the original intake form. We have a benefits analysis. We have a value analysis. We have the time and skills that we need to get this done, and when they're going to be complete by. We've got a spending function. We've got a forecast layer, so we can see, based on this program increment, how many team weeks are going to be contributed from each team in those programs, so we can associate that with more predictable delivery. And then there's a linking function as well. There's a lot going on there. Yeah. Also, there's a budgeting tab that doesn't seem to be turned on right now in this instance, but we can associate budgeting as well as CapEx, OpEx, spending, all of that associated with this epic as well. All right, let me check my agenda and see what's next. Budgeting, portfolio backlog. Yeah, portfolio room. So much like the strategy room that we saw before, this layer also has its own room. And there's a lot of stuff going on here. We've got the increment roadmap, so we see how much progress we have. Sorry, my nose is very itchy today. We have all of the work items that we're getting done within this particular strategic snapshot, and we see execution. We see all of our themes getting completed. I'm sorry, epics. We then have a resources tab where we can see estimated effort distribution. Again, breakdown with work and delivery and estimates, basically connecting demand and capacity. We have a financials tab that's going to show us all of that information, investment versus spend, etc. So we can see work spend, what was budgeted, what was forecasted, based on forecast, based on features, how much money we've already spent based on the total cost of the programs, and the percentage of work that the program is working on allocated to this particular epic. We can see the stories that are accepted and the value of those story points in real dollars here. So again, a lot going on there. Let's take a tour down to the program layer. So first, we're going to come to the program board. I think this is probably the sexiest feature of this tool. I really like this area. And so what we see here down the left side is all of our teams in rows. And again, this is all relative to the portfolio and the program increment that I'm choosing. And then along the top, we see these columns of sprints. And each of these rectangles is a feature, and the feature color and the checkbox tells us what's going on. So if I click up here, I get basically a legend. Features are rectangles. Chevrons are, I'm sorry, I guess it's a chevron. Are dependencies, these elongated hexagons. I think my freshman geometry teacher would be very upset at me right now. These are objectives up here at the top. And then all of these have colors related to them. So like I said before, you can just look at the program board and know, are we ready to start this PI or not? Do we have a lot of blocked things? Are we missing stories? Do we have scheduling issues? Do we have risks applied that have not been resolved yet? That sort of thing. And then if you click on each of these, it highlights everything related to it. So for example, this dependency relates to that other highlighted 1219 feature, and probably some other ones as well. So and then down here we see features that are unassigned. Probably shouldn't start the PI before we assign all the features to the right teams, for example. So a lot going on there too. There is the program room that is similar to the other rooms I've shown you, but focused on the program layer. Oh, yeah, I need the mobile program. Come on, Jira Align. Oh, there we go. So here we see a PI planning checklist built into the tool. We see progress of the current PI, how many epics assigned to us, what's the percent done, the percent of the features done, etc. We have our sprints and our progress in those sprints. We have our runway to see if we have enough work for the teams to do. We have the features that we're actually delivering against in a filterable list. And then over here, down the right, and all these different areas are movable, much like a Jira dashboard. We've got tasks that need to get done. We've got a list of all of our program-based dependencies. There seems to be a lot of them. We have our impediments. Our program objectives are being tracked in this tool. And then we have program load, risks. And again, we might move these around to make them more visible. We have fixed versions that we're working on, team load, and team progress. So a lot going on there. Next area I want to show you is the roadmaps. Should be vamping right now, but I have nothing else to say. Here we go. So I'm looking at epics broken down into features right now. So I can take those epics, break them down, see all the features. If we have any milestones, those will appear on this roadmap. We can see the percent complete, particularly in this feature. You see this dark green bar versus the light green part of the bar, the 79%. We can see, are we on time to get that finished? We can actually export this in what the tool calls a detached instance, which is just a frozen snapshot in time. If we come to the backlog of the program as well, this is another favorite part of this. We get to see estimated work versus actual story points assigned by the teams. So I've got all the features here listed out in my backlog. If I come to the column view, oops, not that. I get this estimated versus actual button. And so first I need to choose a program. Let's go with the mobile program. Oh, did it highlight? There we go. Apply. And now we see that based on the points that we have assigned to the feature and based on our historical delivery, we are about 4,000% loaded on this program. We clearly need to pull some features out based on our top-down estimates. If we come to the actual story points assigned to these features already, we'll see that we're only 92% loaded. So there seems to be a disconnect between top-down and bottom-up estimation. We should probably talk about this at some point. The tool is not going to fix it, but it's going to surface the problem for your people and processes to fix. Lastly, I want to show some dependencies. I talked about them earlier. Dependencies, there we go. And about how they are this conversation. So if I just grab this one right here, you'll see this three-step workflow: not committed, committed, done. We have a description of the dependency. We then have, is it blocked by the requester? Is it blocked by the respondent? Is the work done? Is no work required? What sprint are we requesting it by? What sprint is the dependent team committing to delivering it in? That's a very important part of the conversation. And again, the tool just facilitates the process that the people need to go through. And then other categorical information to help this happen. And then if you're in the tool, you'll get a notification about, hey, there is a dependency requested of your team. How would you like to proceed? All right, there is a reporting section. There are a lot of baked-in reports. One of my favorites is, let's see if I can type this right this time. Search. Investment versus actual. It's the problem of a live demo. I always forget what this report is called. All right, well, let's come to enterprise and see if it's in here. Where is it? Not status report. Well, anyway, you can already see that there are a lot of reports out here. Portfolio. Oh, yeah, investment versus spend. I like this one a lot. I gotta choose my portfolio. I'm gonna go with digital services. And now we see our PI funding, our PI estimated spend, our PI accepted spend, broken down into these different categories, which is quite helpful, or themes in this case. And then we have all of our spending allocation, investment versus spend, work, this is a lot of information in one report. I will say that despite Jira Align having a number of reports, as you can see in this view here, most of our customers wind up using an add-on called Enterprise Insights, which creates a data lake, and you can then connect it to your own BI tooling. Because, you know, as good as this tool is, your environment will dictate what you need, and every business is different. Lastly, I want to show one little thing in the settings. There is a lot of settings to configure in this tool, which is why it takes so long to set it up. And because you're affecting so many people, a lot of cheese moving. If we look at platform terminology, that's the one setting that I want to show you right now. And this shows you that for every object in the tool, capability, checklist, dependency, epic, you get to choose what those are called for your organization. So maybe an epic is called something else, and maybe the plural is different, and you can give it its own description. So we can set this system to different methodologies or whatever homegrown system you have developed for your business. All right, that's the end of the walkthrough for Jira Align. I'm going to stop for a minute and talk about some other stuff, and we're going to dive into advanced roadmaps next. So let me come back to our presentation. I do want to spend just a very short moment talking about why you're listening to XVM versus Atlassian. Atlassian provides tools, and their partner network provides services around those tools. And XBM, our company, is one of those partners. We are a platinum solution partner, which is the highest tier of partner available. We are also an Agile at Scale certified partner, which means that Atlassian has homologated us to do Agile at Scale engagements with Jira Align. Specifically, our core competencies revolve around training, free webinars like this, paid public classes. There's a Jira Align bootcamp. We also do private training as well. We do a public Jira bootcamp, Jira Service Management bootcamp. Basically, if you need to know how to configure the tool, there's a class that we can help you with. We also do consulting, so we do implementations of these tools. We do customizations, migrations, solutioning around tool needs. And then we also do custom development. We have a sister company called Oasis Digital that is a full stack development shop. So we always try to fix it in the tool first. If not in the tool, then in the marketplace. If not in the marketplace, we can build a custom solution for you if you need. All right, let's talk about advanced roadmaps. So taking off our Jira Align hat, putting on our advanced roadmaps hat. Advanced Roadmaps is a tool available in the Atlassian ecosystem. It comes natively with Data Center and also Jira Cloud Premium. You cannot get it on Jira Server anymore unless you already had it, and you cannot get it on Jira Cloud Free or Standard. Its positioning is for growing agile organizations that need visibility, a shared focus, and accurate delivery. It is for planning across multiple teams. So Jira Software has a single project roadmap function, but if you want to look across multiple teams, multiple projects, you're going to need advanced roadmaps. Obviously, roadmaps keep stakeholders informed. Roadmaps align work to higher level objectives. When you use advanced roadmaps, you can add to the hierarchy beyond just Jira Story, Jira Epic. We can add initiatives and themes and everything else all the way up if you want to. And also, having a roadmap helps communicate the bigger picture to your teams. Some of the key features of advanced roadmaps are it provides a product level roadmap. It provides a different form of visualization of your work. So much like a Kanban board or a sprint board, advanced roadmaps in Jira Align, take the data already in Jira and just show them in a different way, in a much more usable way for your planning. And it also rolls things up into higher level hierarchical items. You can do capacity planning at the team level with advanced roadmaps. You cannot do individual capacity, but you can do team level capacity. You can do some auto scheduling at the team level, and you can do much better visualization of dependency management than native Jira provides. So what's coming? They have recently improved sprint management. They have recently improved capacity management. They added a dependency map a little while back. They added some horizontal scrolling. There's now an image export as well as a Confluence export. We'll dive into all that in a minute. They also recently upped the number of items in a single plan from 3,000 to 5,000 in cloud. I think that same's coming on data center as well. Just like Jira Align, it takes a little bit of time to implement this, but it's much faster. We basically pilot in, I think, a month or less with 1 to 2 teams. And when I say month or less, that's because there's training involved. There's usually some reconfiguration of Jira involved to make it easy to not miss work items and get everything aligned. We got to talk about the hierarchy and the naming, and we got to get your get your Jira projects aligned to your teams, preferably. It just makes the whole thing easier. Typically, what we do is we start by asking you, what decisions are you trying to make? What do you need to see to make those decisions? What are the processes to get those views? And then how does the tool support that? And then we work backwards. We help you update the tool. We help you update your processes. We help you get those views. And then we confirm that you're able to make the decisions that you want to make with this. And then eventually you can expand to different teams or programs. But usually it takes about a month. And again, this is because of training. So let's dive into the tool. Back here. All right, so this is a demo instance that we have. And Advanced Roadmaps lives up here under the Plans section. It's the same in Data Center as well. And I've got an Advanced Roadmaps demo to show here. Let me just make sure I'm showing everything we want to show. So when I land in Advanced Roadmaps, the first thing I see is sort of 3 different sections. There's this top white section that is all about configuring what you're seeing. There's this bottom left section that I would call the scope view, and this is all the items that we're viewing in this particular plan. And then there's the roadmap view over on the right. So if I start at the top, I've got different views. So right now I'm looking at my initiative planning view, and I can change that to an epic planning view or a capacity planning view or a WSGIF table. All of these views are 100% configurable by the end user. And I'm just gonna, reset this view. Then I see, so every plan has work items pulled into it through a series of filters. So I can point this plan to any number of work items. And I can then further filter this plan and specifically this view with these filters. So basically, I am building a custom view roadmap of the data coming into this plan. I can filter based on hierarchy level. So right now, this particular view in this plan is showing initiatives down to epics. I can filter on releases, teams, assignees, sprints, projects, issue types, all this stuff, including custom fields like product or swag or something like that. I can also control how I'm viewing things. Right now, I am coloring the bars by status, but I could also color the bars by label. So here I'm using a red, yellow, green label to turn the bars red, yellow, and green. You can see my labels here. Red turns it red, green turns it green. Also, you can actually do multi-labels, which looks kind of weird if you're doing red, yellow, green, but if you're doing other things where you want to see multiple axes, that's a really fantastic way to do that. We can also color by other things like component or product or anything else. And this is all customizable. I basically assign the color red to the label red. We can sort by different things. So we can, basically rearrange the table sorting. We can group by project or team or sprint. We can show dependencies as lines or badges. And then we can choose what to roll up. Are we going to roll up dates? Are we going to roll up others? And then once I have this view crafted based on the filters and the view settings, I can save this view. So again, this particular view is for what I would call initiative planning. I'm going to reset my changes here. So what I see down the left side is I've got my initiatives broken out into epics. I then have a target start and target date, which corresponds directly over here to these target starts and target end dates. I see the status. I see a custom field that I'm calling way to shortest job first. I've got a swag. I've got product tags. I've got is this or is this not an MVP? I love that column because it really answers a lot of questions right away about somebody asking, why isn't my initiative showing up on this roadmap? And then I've got progress based on first generation children. So I can see this initiative is 14% done, 57% in progress. If I come down to my next view that I've made, I would call this an epic planning view. Now we can start to see dependencies on this roadmap as well. So for example, this issue is blocked by this issue. And we can see that there's a sequencing problem. And so if I move this out just a little bit, that dependency resolves itself into gray. And then I've got the same information over here. I've got target start, target end, I've got status, I've got swag, I've got story points that are being rolled up. So I've got children's story points rolled up into epic story points. I've got a list of dependencies. And again, I can see everything on this roadmap to make sure that I'm scheduling things appropriately. Lastly, I can come down to a capacity planning view that I built. I like this view a lot. This is the same data broken down by team. And then we can see these team sprints going forward, and we can see that we have capacity problems somewhere here. So if I look at Alpha Sprint 3, I see I've got 35 points loaded when my sprint capacity is only 30. And I can change my future sprint capacity too to account for vacations and stuff like that. And then if I want to resolve that, or if I want to resolve any dependencies, I can come down here and I can reassign different items to different sprints over here to alleviate that capacity problem. I only pulled 1 point out here, so now I'm 34 points down. But once it gets back in the green, you will see that immediately. I really love this tool, by the way. I find this super helpful for teams that are growing. It's a great way to get visibility into everything. Speaking of visibility, there's another view that's called the dependencies report. And I find this one very helpful. It shows me all of the dependencies in my plan and all of the sequencing around that, and anything that is improperly sequenced turns red. And I can group this by team as well, so I can really see the outsized effect that my Charlie team has on the rest of my issues. If they don't get their thing done by a certain time, all of this other work is going to be blocked as well. Some other really important features that I have not pointed out yet, all the changes that I make. So if I want to change a date here, I can update these dates. Once I make that change, you see all these green flags in the top right corner of each cell that has been changed. All of those changes are being saved here and are waiting to be pushed back to Jira. So I can scenario out different changes that I want to make, look at them, find out how they're going to affect my delivery, and then when I'm ready, I can push those changes back into Jira. In addition to that, I can also work with multiple scenarios. I've made 2 for this plan, but all the changes right now are getting saved under the best case scenario. If I go to the worst case scenario, all of my changes are going to be made in red. And you see up here that the review changes button only has 3 changes to make. And so I can choose eventually which scenario I want to push back out to everything, which is quite helpful, I think. In addition to all of that, we have ways to share information. Oh, also we can see warnings. I love the warnings in this. It's a very soft way to say, hey, there's a planning problem. So for example, this warning here is saying that this epic ends 2 months after its parent. That seems to be a problem. The parent's probably not going to get done, and the parent has a similar warning too. Like, you know, we think we're okay with the parent, but the children have a problem. Oh, we can also see releases on our timeline as well, and we can highlight them just to see everything. These releases will turn red if anything assigned to them falls past the release date. My favorite part about this, though, is the shareability. So I can share this particular view in a read-only format. The first thing I can do is share a link. This link does require that the viewers are authenticated into Jira. Jira Advanced Roadmaps is only going to show you what you have rights to view in Jira already. And notice that in this read-only view, I can't edit anything, but I still have full control over how I view this information. So if I want to filter down by teams or resort or see a different layer of the hierarchy or change the way that I color things, I can do that in this read-only view just before my presentation. And who doesn't love having this not in a PowerPoint? I love this feature here. Another way to share is you can embed this as an iframe onto a web page. My favorite way personally is through Confluence. And so I can generate a link, copy that link, and then come over into Confluence, which I'll do right now. I'm just going to find a roadmap in Confluence, not necessarily the one that we were just looking at. So I've got one here in my engagement dashboard page. Here we go. So I can drop a roadmap right into a Confluence page, and it is still an interactive roadmap. I can still expand things. I can see a legend of what all the colors tell me. And I love doing this kind of reporting because I can write all the context that I want around this roadmap, and then the roadmap's always live. So an incredibly helpful way to work with your stakeholders. Additionally, there is a CSV export, which will also export data around these progress bars, and so you can kick that into another reporting tool if you'd like. Lastly, there is a PNG snapshot function that is not turned on in this instance. I believe it's still being rolled out. And so if you have a newer deployed instance of advanced roadmaps, you'll be able to export a full PNG snapshot of this roadmap as well. Lastly, I just want to hop into the configuration settings of this one plan for a moment and show you one area, and that is this issue sources area. This is where I choose what data to bring into this roadmap. So I can make it as big and broad as I want, or I can make it as focused as I want. So I think the optimal idea is multiple roadmaps because they're all pointing to the same data in Jira. You can have multiple roadmaps for different functions in your organization. One large planning roadmap that shows the big picture, a team-focused roadmap to do the capacity planning for which would be really helpful for your Scrum Master. We're all in the same tool, so I really like this. If you're not ready for Jira Align, because Jira Align is a very big tool, this is a great place to start. We offer training. It's a very simple tool as well if you don't need training, but I highly recommend it. And it is free if you already have Jira Cloud Premium or Data Center. It's already installed. Before we get to questions, I want to do a soft close on the webinar in case people have to go. The first thing I want to say is thank you very much for your kind attention, for watching this. I hope you got some value out of this. If you have any questions about anything, again, we'll do Q&A in a minute, but you can also always email me at brian.dart@xstream.com, or you can stalk me on LinkedIn and send a message there if you have any questions. And I just want to point out for a moment that we have a lot of free upcoming webinars if you're interested. This is today's introduction to portfolio management in Jira, but we also have a paid Jira bootcamp, a paid Confluence bootcamp, a much more in-depth dive into Jira Align for free coming up on May 19th. We have a Jira Service Management 2-day bootcamp that is really in-depth if you like Jira Service Management. We have an Introduction to Confluence webinar. We have an Atlassian for Business Teams webinar here. We have an Atlassian Governance webinar. We have a Cloud Migration webinar, and then we repeat on all that. Oh, also there's a Jira Service Management Fundamentals and Jira Service Management for ITSM webinar as well. So again, thank you for coming. I'm going to open it up now to questions, but if you don't have any, feel free to go have a lovely day. Really, thank you very much for your attention, and we hope to see you at a future webinar. So, any questions? All right, well, looks like no questions. Hopefully then this was of value, and yeah, have a great day, and we'll see you guys around. Thank you very much.